Episode 1, The H Word, begins as we see a member of the Chase fighting a woman with katanas, which turns out to be Elektra. If you remember from Daredevil Season 3, the Hand revived Elektra, but Danny Rand, aka Iron Fist, shows up and stopped the fight. With help from Colleen, a character in his own show, Elektra stabs Shaft before Iron Fist hits her. Before Shaft dies, he tells Iron Fist to go to New York. We then cut to Jessica Jones as she awakened from being passed out at the bar. Chris Walker, Jessica's sister, begs the cop not to tow her car before Jessica simply yanks it free from the hitch. And we learn since the events of Jessica Jones, she stopped taking cases. We then cut to Luke Cage as he's being released from prison. And his lawyer is Foggy Nelson. And Foggy says that his law firm is at his disposal. We then cut to Matt as he's practicing for trial. He uses his ability to listen to a car crash, but he let the authorities handle it. We cut to Matt in court, and Matt wins his case. Colleen and Danny are traveling to New York, and Danny has a nightmare. We then meet a new character, Alexandra Reed. We learn that she is dying, but also the leader of the Hand. Michelle Raymond asks Jessica Jones to try to find her husband that went missing, and Jessica Jones really refuses, but after getting a phone call saying that she should stay away, she decides to look into it. We then see Luke Cage as he is on a bus. He meets up with Claire and they hook up before Misty Knight shows up and tells Luke Cage about people getting jobs before mysteriously ending up dead. She asks him to check on a guy named Cole, but the guy refuses his help. Matt and Karen meet up to have coffee, and we learn that they are no longer together. We learn that they are not together anymore. If you remember from Daredevil Season 2, Matt told her that he was Daredevil, and he lies to her saying that he doesn't miss her. We then cut to Jessica Jones as she is researching about John. We see a quick scene with Malcolm, a character from Jessica Jones, and we'll get to that when we cover Jessica Jones. Jessica goes to a shady part of town and she goes to John Raymond's apartment to find C4 brick. We then cut to Matt's apartment as he senses something is wrong. Matt feels the earthquake, and then Jessica, and then Colleen and Danny as soon as they arrive to New York, and then Luke Cage saves someone. Episode 2, Mean Right Hook, opens with Matt looking upon the city, wishing he was down there. It takes a shop owner to pull a gun for Matt to get involved. After there's evidence that there's not an earthquake, it gets covered up. Jessica calls in the cop to deal with the C4. Jessica goes to the library to try to find the company's records, and she sees that every few years they change their names and move their assets from shell company to shell company. Hogarth shows up and says Jessica should back off the case, but that just makes her more determined. And Hogarth knows this, so she hires Foggy to keep an eye on her. Matt is still reeling with last night's events, and he goes to open the crate, but Foggy calls, saving him just in time. It seems like they haven't been back to Josie's since Season 2, and it's clear they're not as close as they once were, but Foggy gives him multiple cases that he can't handle, including Jessica's. Because when Jessica returns home, John Raymond is holding a gun to Malcolm's head. He thinks Jessica is working for them, but then Elektra attacks and he kills himself. Because how this looks, she's arrested, but Matt shows up to represent her. Luke interrogates Turk about why all the men end up dead, and we learn there's a new player in town, and Luke is able to track him down. Danny and Colleen go back to her dojo, and they research about the sword that Shaft was using. They go to the warehouse. These guys start to dissolve the bodies, and Iron Fist threatens Cole, and Luke Cage and Iron Fist gets into a fight. And Danny is able to get a good hit in. Cole gets arrested, but Luke Cage and Iron Fist escape. We cut to Alexandra. We learn she has stick. Episode 3, Worst Behavior. We flash back right after the events of Season 2 of Daredevil as we see Elektra being reborn. We see as Elektra trains, and then Stick is able to escape, but he's able to make it to Colleen Gym. We then cut to Matt as he is very intrigued about Jessica as he knows that she has powers. Later, her investigation brings her to Midland Circle Enterprises, and Matt follows, but she clocks him. Luke Cage tells Claire about Iron Fist, and a bit later they meet up. Danny's research also leads him to Midland Circle. He arrives and is able to get inside, but it is revealed that everybody there is actually members of the Hand, and they start fighting as he takes them all on. But when it seems like Danny's in trouble, Luke Cage shows up, and they end up teaming up. Jessica arrives at the building, and Matt's behind her. He hears gunshots, so he makes his way up the stairs, and they both arrive to join the fight. And the Defenders are all together. And we have another hallway fight. And Elektra arrives, and Matt can't sense her until he hears her breathing later on. And we get a hint that she's not totally gone, but Iron Fist saves Matt. And the group ends up leaving. Episode 4, the Royal Dragon begins, with the group taking refuge in this china shop. Matt refuses to show his face, but it's revealed that Jessica learned that he is Daredevil, and that gets him to return her scarf. Elektra examines her wounds that killed her. Alexandra reminds her that she's the Black Sky, and the one person that did control the body no longer matters. The group discusses their options, and that's when Stick shows up, but Jessica Jones leaves after the mystical talk begins. Luke Cage tells Stick to tell them everything he knows, and we learn about the origin of the Hand. Jessica checks out the show company's records, and she notices that it's all signed by the same person, even though the names do change, but it's still the same person over thousands of years. Alexandra decides someone needs to take care of the threat of the Defenders, and she shows up at the restaurant threatening them unless Danny goes with them. But when she refuses, Elektra shows up, but then Jessica drives a car through the window. Episode 5, Take Shelter. The Hand attacks the Defenders as they're trying to get to Danny. Stick says the best option is to fight together, but Matt tries to reason with Elektra, and after he says her name, she freezes before disappearing. The group gets away into the sewers, but Luke grabbed one of their guys, Swansea, and they interrogate him, which he reveals he knows the events of the other shows and their failures, and he threatens their loved ones. Percutos is alive, and he tries to recruit her, but after she refuses, he attacks her, but Luke Cage saves her. She then goes to the police station to stay safe. Matt tells Karen that she needs to get somewhere safe. Jessica goes to get Trish to safety, but Murakami finds them, and Daredevil helps defeat him. All the side characters end up at the police station, now including Foggy. Stick tells Matt he should leave the Defenders. Matt uses his billy clubs to interrogate Swansea, but he still refuses to talk. The rest of the Defenders found out that Matt was not completely honest and that he knew Elektra, and Swansea escaped, but before he can do anything, Stick cuts his head off. Cut to Alexandra as the rest of the members of the Hand are starting to get nervous after all their resources were used on reviving Elektra. And Elektra goes to Matt's apartment. Episode 6, Ashes. The group decided it would be best to keep Danny locked up because he's the key to everything, but he's like, no, it's my destiny, I am the Iron Fist. Daredevil, Luke Cage, and Jessica Jones fight him, and he gets knocked out and tied up. And then Matt tells them about the hole from Season 2. Luke keeps an eye on Danny as Jessica and Matt go to investigate. Inside a piano, they find architectural plans. Electra starts to remember her old life when she wakes up, and Alexandra tries to get her back on track. Stick knocks Luke out so he can kill Danny, but Electra attacks him and ends up killing him. And after knocking out each hero, she takes Danny and she gets back to Electra before killing her and declaring that she is now the leader of the Hand. And she decapitates Electra. Episode 7, Fish in the Jailhouse, begins with a flashback showing immediately what happened after Electra left Matt in college, as they discuss if there's any way to win without killing. We then cut back to present. Luke, Jessica, and Matt are taken to the police station where the sidekicks fill them in. Electra declared that she wants to bring the organization out of the shadows before she ends up taking Iron Fist down to try to open the gateway. After she gets him to fight her, she makes him destroy the wall. Karen is upset because Matt is going back into his old ways, but he made the decision that he is returning as Daredevil. We then cut to Matt and Foggy talking as Foggy gives him the suit, and Karen is upset about this. Jessica, Luke, and Matt doesn't want to tell the cops about the Hand, so Luke or Jessica broke a hole through the wall, and they travel to Midland Circle. They get there, and Bakuto, Mikami, and Madame Gao are there. Matt takes on Bakuto and Mikami, leaving Jessica and Luke to take on Madame Gao, and she completely destroys them. And Colleen joins the fight. Murakami breaks a pipe. Mercudo scrapes his sword on the ground, causing the gas to go on fire, but Luke is able to stop it with his super strength, but by that point, they're all gone. Colleen reveals that she stole plans and C4, and her best idea to blow up the place to seal off the hole again. Episode 8, The Defenders. Luke doesn't want to go through with it, but they're able to convince him, saying that no innocent person will get hurt. As Electra and Madame Gao are walking through the bones, she mentioned that dragons used to fly through her homelands, and the bones are all that are left. Matt, Luke, and Jessica take the elevator down, as Claire and Colleen set the explosive, but Makuto finds them, and they fight as Claire tried to evacuate the block. Danny starts taking out goons until Madame Gao finds him and taunts him about a story about his dead mom. The Hand was waiting for Matt and the others, and Danny is able to use his power to send a lot of the goons and Madame Gao away. Missy saves Claire from some goons, but when she tries to stop Makuto's, her arm gets chopped off. But don't worry, she'll get a new arm just like in the comics. Colleen kills Makuto's, but Colleen discovers that the explosives are ready to go off, and Matt tells the others to get out of there as he tries to talk sense into Electra, but he whispers in Danny's ear, "Protect my city." Electra is destroying him as Matt tried to reason with her, saying there's still good in her, but she ends up throwing one of her swords, stopping the elevator as the Hand goons come out, and Murakami dies. As the elevator rope starts breaking, Jessica is able to grab onto it and let Luke and Danny escape. And there's only 4 minutes left on the bomb. And turns out Murakami is still alive as he asks Madame Gao what's happened, and she says, "The end." The rest of the group is able to escape as the building explodes, and Electra apologizes for all the pain she caused Matt. Karen and Foggy hug and cry as they realize Matt's not coming, and the mayor blamed the earthquake on construction. Foggy reveals that his law firm took care of all pending charges. Missy wakes up as Colleen is waiting by her bedside. Jessica and Luke Cage meet up as they suggest that they should get coffee sometime, and Danny fulfills his promise to Matt. Foggy and Karen have a small service for Matt, not knowing that he's actually still alive, and we'll cover that in season 3.